In this video, we will talk about making connections between texts. One of the ways we deepen our understanding about something we read is by making connections. There are three broad categories of types of connections we can make. The first is text-to-self connections. This means that you connect something that you've read with either something about yourself or something you've experienced personally in your life. We also seek to make text-to-text connections. That means we find connections between two texts. They can be the same style of text or texts of different genres. But you can deepen your understanding of both texts by looking for connections between topics, themes, messages presented, character development, the author's opinions, or even styles of writing. A third way we can deepen our understanding is by considering what kind of text-to-world connections we can make. This means we connect an idea or something from the text with events, people, historical happenings, or even laws of nature. On your state testing, you will be asked to make text-to-text connections. This means you will be given two texts to read, and you'll be asked questions about connections that you can make between the texts. We anticipate that texts from two different genres will be used for comparison. That means each text will be a different genre, and they might choose from fiction, poetry, an informational text, an argumentative text, a literary nonfiction, which means a memoir or an essay, or even a drama. They will present the two texts to read and then ask you questions about the first text, followed by questions about the second text. Then they will ask you connecting questions which will refer to both texts. You might be wondering, what are they going to ask me about these texts? Well, the type of comparisons they will ask about might refer to the list of things that are here on the screen. They could ask you about topic, the author's messages about the topic, the themes presented, the tone, meaning the author's word choices to create a mood or feeling, the style of writing, including diction and other syntax questions, how the author used figurative language or rhetorical strategies. They might even ask for informational or argumentative texts about the use of examples or evidence, or how the information is organized. The big thing to remember, though, is in the connection questions, they're going to ask you to look at similarities and differences between the two texts. Let's look at a couple of examples of how connection questions have looked on previous state testing. In this example, directly from one of the state tests, the question is, what is a difference in how the two selections portray fathers? Both of the texts included fathers, and so the question is asking about a difference in how the author made choices in how they characterized or presented fathers. To locate the correct answer in this type of question, you'll notice that each of the answer choices give you two different ways the fathers are portrayed. If only one of the statements in the answer choice is true, then that is not the correct answer choice. Both statements have to be true, in this case of how fathers are portrayed, in order for the answer choice to be correct. Here is another example. In this question, they're asking about a similarity. They do this by starting out both the daughter's paintings in To a Daughter with Artistic Talent and the father's stories in the excerpt from Big Fish, and then they leave the sentence open-ended. You finish the sentence with one of the answer choices. Usually when that word both is used in the question stem, they're looking for something similar or the same. In this case, the similarity is something similar about the daughter's paintings. So to locate the correct answer, we will consider, okay, what was the purpose of this item, or if it wasn't paintings, if it was a person or an event in the two texts. Because it's asking us a similarity in both texts, you have to make sure that whatever answer choice you pick can be true of the item, in this case the daughter's paintings, for both of the stories. So in To Daughter with Artistic Talent, I would have to know the painting depicted a world that seems more fanciful than realistic, and In the father stories from Big Fish, also, the paintings depict a world that seems more fanciful than realistic. They have to be true of both to be the correct answer choice. Another way that making connections questions are asked is occasionally they give you a quotation or a bit of text from each of the texts, and then they ask you a question about those specific quotations. In this case, for the two quotations that they gave us, they're asking us both quotations use imagery that conveys a sense of, and then they're asking us to complete the sentence with one of the words of the answer choices. Now, in this example, they're asking us what is similar or the same about these quotations, but keep in mind they could use this same structure to ask us about a difference. To narrow down our answer choices, we can look at several things. The connotation of the word choices, meaning are the words used presented in a positive or negative way? How do these quotations use figurative language? What do you see in your mind when you read each of these quotations? And it might be helpful to even draw out what the quotations are describing if necessary. Asking yourself these questions will help you narrow down the correct answer choice. But again, make sure that whatever answer choice you pick is true of both quotations, or in the event that it's asking about differences, that it best reflects a difference in both quotations. One last type of example we're going to look at might look like this. They give you in boxed information a sentence or sentences from one of the texts, and then they ask you to make a connection from the other text through the answer choices. The answer choices will be specific words or lines or sentences taken from the other text. Our instructions in this example read, which phrase from See It Through illustrates that the mother also accomplishes tasks in a creative way? That use of the word also lets me know that I'm looking for something that is similar or the same. In narrowing down my answer choices, I'm going to look for something that shows a mother accomplishing a task in a creative way. The important thing is to understand what the question is asking you. In today's lesson, you're going to make some text-to-text connections between the poem Birdfoot's Grampa and the short story Where the Earth Meets the Sky. You have already read and annotated both stories, so now you're going to have 3 multiple-choice questions that will look for connections between the two texts, and 1 short answer question that's going to ask you to explain in paragraph form a specific similarity. When you get to the short answer question, remember to use the race strategy as you answer. That means you start out your answer by restating the question and answering it with your thesis. Then you will cite evidence, meaning give specific text evidence from both texts that support your answer, and explain your thinking using commentary or words of your own which explains and supports what you said in your opening. This is especially where you will show the connection between the two texts. The questions are located in the Canvas assignment.